In this episode, we sit down with Bill Owen for a real conversation on honor guard, leadership, and discipline, and what it actually takes to do things at a high level. We get into standards, culture, and why the little details are never actually little. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Line and the Oath. Today, I have with me Brandon. I also have somebody who I met. Bill, now I'm trying to remember, how did we exactly meet?
We got connected from Dan over at St. Charles
That's
Ambulance
right.
in St. Louis.
That's right. And I just texted Bill to be like, "Hey, man, what's up? I have a bunch of love for Honor Guard and want to get your take on it." And that's kind of how I think I sent him a text message, not even an email.
Yeah, it was a text message. Yeah. And I've been, best friends. We've been biffles ever since, man.
Well, you know what? I tell you what, I'm going to put this right down the fairway. We're talking about leadership. We're talking about discipline. We're talking about honor guard. And we're talking about why the little things matter more than what people think. Bill, hit me.
We're really just going through the whole gambit here.
We
Yeah.
are.
I mean, all this is developed over time and it's grown and evolved and everything else. I mean, for me, the truth is all this stuff, when I go and work with honor guards, I don't say that I teach honor guard. I mean, obviously that's kind of a given here. I say I teach drill and ceremonies. There's a lot of different flavors to drill and ceremonies. Honor guard is one of those flavors. I've also been an instructor at the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy. Basic training drill is a different flavor of drill and ceremonies. Everything's got a particular reason for it. Everything at a boot camp level is snap and pop, and it should be. It has to be. As an example, if someone says get down, you can't just, oh, let me slowly get down. They're training guys to go to war, and that's a different purpose. Honor guard is slow and ceremonial, again, for its own purpose. These two flavors don't necessarily mix. They're not necessarily supposed to mix, right? At this point, I'm in 27 other countries teaching drill and ceremonies as well. And that doesn't mean our boys overseas and in other countries. That means, foreign governments, foreign militaries, foreign police, etc. The same principles apply. And you can change the environment, you can change the venue, you can change the mission set, frankly. It doesn't actually change what good training is, what excellence is, what culture is. Um, you know, Aesthetically, human performance is still human performance. And in some ways, I think that's really what I'm teaching because I've expanded into so many more lanes than just drill and ceremonies or honor guard. That's still the backbone of what I do. That is my passion. But there's other cool things on my resume that have all grown, spawned, evolved from the stuff I learned in honor guard, drill and ceremonies, etc.
How did you get asked to go to other countries?
A lot of luck, a lot of personality is probably the real answer there. Um, the truth is that is where this all started in so many ways for me. I got to give you a little background to get to that for everything to make sense. So I started in high school JROTC. I was on a national championship drill team, so I'm sure that is different than what 99% of people are thinking what JROTC means. If you go on my YouTube page, you'll see some links on there. When I'm talking about national championship level competition drill, that's a very different thing than most people truly understand. So that's there for you though. After I graduated, I started coaching some other teams. Instructors came to me and said, hey, coach my team. Was able to get, some really quick success through that, working with teams, bringing them to the national championship kind of level. I got reached out to by, of all places, the country of Trinidad and Tobago, because I met a guy from Trinidad and Tobago who came up to see some drill, to, learn some things to take back. He talked to me for a little bit and said, hey, I want you to come down to Trinidad and teach our guys. And this was 2008, 9. I think I was 20 years old. I don't think I was 21. And the reason that sticks with me is I wasn't of drinking age here, but I was of drinking age there. That's why I remember that, to be honest. But that's where it all started internationally. That was, to say that was a kick in the balls kind of experience, or whatever cool analogy you want to make there, that's exactly what it was. Because At 20, you think you know everything, right? I wish I could go back to when I was 20 and I knew everything. I was given 100 guys that they speak English in Trinidad, but it's not like our English. It's
Broken.
it's kind of Jamaican, but worse.
God.
So
Mm.
they can understand everything that I'm saying because to them it sounds like I'm being very proper and articulate with my words. I can understand a darn word they're saying because of how fast they talk and slang and stuff like that. So I had 100 people by myself in that environment, and that was in many ways the spark to start the company, to validate what I could and couldn't do and stuff like that. So in many ways the international stuff is where it started for me, not where it led. Now fast forward what, 16 17 years, and okay, I've been to 27 countries doing it and been to every state doing it. Had a lot of cool stories and stuff along the way, but that's how it started.
Just to start in Trinidad. That first of all, by yourself with 100 people?
Well, if you can make it in that environment,
Yeah,
you can make it anywhere.
yeah. That's
um
that sounds
Again,
sounds worse than trying to make it in New York.
that was kind of the analogy I was going with there, but man, I learned a lot. Learned a lot, good and bad, what works, what doesn't work. And spoiler alert, in Trinidad, they're doing like British style drill. They're using different rifles, they're using infields. There's a lot of stuff that it's easier for me to say now that it's, just a different flavor. It's all the same thing. Back then, I don't know that I was confidently saying that or believing it or anything like that.
You've also taught other, like, top level groups like the Old Guard, Marine Silent Drill, the Navy Ceremonial Drill, correct? What were those experiences like?
I you've got a different mission set there. From the sense of, they're not just going out and doing a performance for anybody. They're doing stuff for the president, other heads of state. That is a zero fail mission. So the tolerances and things like that are almost non-existent. This is the standard, this is how it's got to be. The value I added to that, because certainly all those groups have been around way longer than me. The value I brought to it or added to it was, one, being an outsider. So I'm a civilian. I can say anything. Those groups are made up very different than most military or really any other military unit as far as rank structure, et cetera. But bring in just good technique. Think about this, because here's the reality of the guys in DC from any of those groups. You get a guy fresh out of boot camp. He's there for maybe 2 years, and now he's the trainer. Someone that just learned this stuff 2 years ago, now being the trainer. I know you're an EMT. Imagine someone who's been an EMT for 2 years now teaching you how to be an EMT. And he was taught by a guy who's only done it for 2 years,
You don't think
et
that happens?
cetera, et
Because that
cetera, et
absolutely
cetera.
happens.
So what you get though is you get things that mutate, or things that, with enough time and force, you can make this work. And I'm not disagreeing with that per se, but there's better techniques, there's better tactics, there's better training models that we can save ourselves a lot of, whether it's just stress and pain and agony, or whether it's actually injury and stuff like that, we can certainly save and get stuff done a whole lot quicker, efficiently. Morale goes a lot higher. All these things are certainly benefits built in there.
Now, the main group of people you teach drill to is EMS, fire, PD,
First responders.
first responders in general. Have you had any we had Doug Schwartz on here, a couple weeks ago, and he said he had some weird groups like chefs and things along and bus drivers. Have you had any weird groups like that?
I've had a couple weird groups. Define weird. Everyone's passionate. Everyone wants to do well. So I don't think they're weird people by any means. They're just not the norm of who you'd expect.
Correct, that's a better way to put it.
Well, let
You
me
know,
let me
so,
ask this. Do you notice a difference in the student from military to civilian? Is it the same mindset, or is there like a different attention to detail?
the personalities are different in a lot of ways. You still have type A guys, sure. Military is different from any of the first responders group. I would definitely say, teaching police officers different than teaching firefighters. They're all different. I mean, you got to adapt and play ball and make it work. Some groups you can be a little rougher with than others. Um, they're all different.
Do you so
I'm gonna
do
put you
you
on the spot here. If you had to pick a single group that is your quote unquote favorite to work with, as far as from an education standpoint, just the sheer joy of doing the job.
But you say enjoy doing the job. What
Okay.
define what you mean there, just so I'm
Well,
accurate. I feel like my answer's probably not going to change, but
okay. If you had to pick a group that you have taught over the years that you just remember better or really enjoyed working with, maybe more than any other particular group, can you pick one?
specific group, you mean not just a big
Yeah.
umbrella of saying police fire?
Yeah.
Anything special operations on the military side, 100% that. Anyone on the first responder side that has some kind of tactical background, whether that means, SWAT, obviously, but SWAT medics and stuff fall in there. People that, hey, how do I get this done? Show me the best way, show me how to get better. There's not a lot of egos and stuff in those groups. It's
Gotcha.
people that legitimately want to learn, legitimately want to get better. Um, you can say about any type A person to an extent, but ego is certainly coming into play. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tactics background. Do you feel like they tend to
And
thrive more in the honor guard methodology?
what the reason, 'cause I've put a lot of thought into why those guys excel versus other guys. I would put it as simplistically as this. The guys that have done an extensive amount of tactical training, they went to a shoot house, to a room, and it's like, yeah, man, when you don't do this, you get shot. There's not I can make it work. It's good enough. Shot is shot, dead is dead. But someone that doesn't look at things quite that same way. And I'm not saying you have to, be a SWAT guy or a Navy SEAL to have that
Right.
same kind of mindset. But outside of that, you get a lot more people who are willing to accept a whole lot less, who are willing to be like, I see your point, but what are the odds of that happening? Well, a guy who might get shot has a very different procedural outlook on this. It doesn't, hey, we do this 1,000 times. I get shot once. That's still a loss.
Still hurts.
There you
You've
go.
triggered you've got me thinking now. I'm trying to think how to ask
That's
this
probably a
question
dangerous realm to
without
be in.
hurting somebody's feelings out there, but screw it. Okay. How many years have you been teaching ceremony honor guard?
I mean, I started the company in 2010, so that's 16 years by itself, if you just
Okay.
figure professionally in that standard.
What's the company
And
called? Because no one's
Go ahead.
actually heard the name yet.
My company's called Competitive Outcomes.
okay. So over those 16 years, ballpark, how many students have you taught?
No, I know I track it because I update it on the website every year. I think we updated it to 51,000
Wow.
this year. Yeah.
Those 51,000, most of them are selfless, in this for the right reasons, truly wanting to serve the mission, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're gonna find outliers in any
Well,
metric,
that's
of
what I want to
course,
ask you
but
about. Can you pick out the outlier, the self-serving one that's there, look at me versus there for the right mission?
well, I'll tell you the bigger percentage of outliers, and this is gonna be a agency by agency, department by department kind of thing because of how things run. The real toxic outliers, to put a word with it, are the ones who are like, I'm gonna get overtime pay for doing this. Oh, I want to do it for the overtime.
Gotcha.
Those are the outliers.
How do you handle those?
Actually, if you take that out of the equation, I there's not a lot of showboating, look at me kind of guys.
Well, that's good.
Honor guard's not like, and this is usually I say this for different reasons, but it's the same stuff I'll say every week in training. Honor guard is not like a sports team in the sense of if this was basketball and I had Michael Jordan on my team, me and Michael Jordan are going to beat all of y'all. Not because I'm good at basketball, because I got the GOAT over here. That's why
Mhm.
we're going to win. Honor guard doesn't work that way. To be more realistic with it, the public, whether they know something or not, doesn't look at those guys doing honor guard and say, "Oh man, that guy right there, that's the all-star. Look at him."
Mhm.
They see the one who's messed up, jacked up, different, whatever it is. And I mean, I follow that or extend it by saying the public doesn't know what's right or wrong. They know what's different. And that guy's out of step, that guy's whatever it is. What makes it even worse is truly they're not going to say that guy's wrong, that guy's out of step, whatever it is. They're going to say they're out of step, they're not together. You're all just as guilty wearing the same darn uniform, doesn't matter, size, shape, color. You're all in the same uniform, you all look darn identical to the public.
100%.
And just a quick side PSA, I'm glad you said this. Michael Jordan is better than LeBron. It is not a competition. You
If that's a
children
debate,
out there who are like LeBron,
who's
no,
debating
shut
who?
up.
Wrong words,
6-0 in the
fellas.
finals.
That's
Michael
where we're
Jordan
going
played
to
in a
have the
different
keyboard
NBA.
warriors.
Is a different caliber athlete. He would
That's how you
destroy
get the
the
clicks,
NBA
man. That's
today.
how you get the
Screw
clicks.
LeBron. He is, I don't even say third best. Thank you. I'm finally, I've had that on my chest for like 6 episodes, but I'm better now. Thank you.
I bring out the best in people. You're welcome.
You really, that's what you do. You bring out the best in people.
Bill, how do you structure your classes?
Tony
A little
pulling us
more
right back in.
specific.
Good job, buddy.
What do you mean, man? A little more specific. What do you want?
From start to finish, when you're there, geez, slurring my words, you're there day one, go from day one to day 3 or day 5, go through your curriculum.
For honor guard?
Yes.
Okay, so for honor guard, have start with introduction. You got to establish credibility and not be the stranger in the room any longer than you have to be. I think that's important. I mean, I think there's a lot of important psychological things I could get into. I'm trying to give you a full spectrum answer, and we can always go back and get more specific. But gonna do an introduction. I'll be honest. During that introduction, I'm gonna say, "Hey guys, gotta do this introduction thing. This is not going to take more than about 7 minutes. Someone start the timer. This is the only time you're going to be sitting down during the course. The rest of you are going to be on your feet. So enjoy it. Don't get too comfortable." I'll give them an introduction, a little bit of background. I'll ask a couple questions just so I know I'm hitting the ground running. But I've already done my background research and stuff, but it's just kind of reassuring. And I want to hear them say the same training points and stuff we need to hit anyway, even though I already know them. Start with basic standing manual kind of stuff. I mean, as basic as attention, right face, left face, etc. There's a lot of right ways to do honor guard. It's important. I say that a lot throughout the course. There's a lot of right ways to do this stuff. I'm not here to teach the right way. Definitely not here to teach the wrong way. I'm here to teach a way. And in saying that it's a way, the things I want to accomplish with that are: one, no matter what curveball you want to throw at me, no matter what act of God, etc., it's going to be about 95% the same no matter what. We're not going to be reinventing the wheel. I think in a lot of ways, I'm teaching a linear approach to honor guard, a how to use the tools versus just teaching you about a specific tool to use. And I'll use toolbox analogies and stuff, but going back to the training, I treat everyone like they got ADHD. I'm not going to spend an hour on right face. Like we're going to spend a couple minutes. We'll move on to the next thing. Don't worry, because whatever we did is going to come back, and we're going to do the next, and then we're going to go back. There's no PowerPoints. The videos and things like that, I send an email so you can look at them on your device at your leisure. We'll get through standing manual stuff. We'll pick up rifles or axes, whatever, equipment there, flags, obviously. Get right into marching. We'll finish through marching by lunch the first day. After lunch, it's all about entry, exit, as if we're doing color guard kind of stuff, because I think that's the point where I really teach the setup and how much entry, exit, and stuff are going to kind of matter. Again, there's a lot of right ways to do this. You can find 1,000 different ways to do this thing, but there's 2 hard, fast rules that I give you. Those 2 hard, fast rules: one is make the picture look as good as you can. So, you've got a stage, you want to be centered on the marching space of the stage. Don't make it awkward is rule number 2. Rule 2 of 2. Make the picture look as good as you can. Don't make it awkward. There's a lot of overlap in that Venn diagram. Frankly, it's a doggone circle. What does don't make it awkward mean? I don't want to be within arm's length of anything. So a person, a podium, edge of the stage, whatever that might be. So I can figure where I've got to be positioned, how I'm going to set up on there. Going through, if we come in from the left, how do we do it following protocol versus the right versus center? Going through all those different things. I think the setup is absolutely the most important thing because I don't care how you do right face. I don't care how you do the movements per se, but once you're up on stage, everyone can 100% see you. You're definitely the center of attention. You're not going to get away with anything being different, and variables are what's going to kill you. You know, when you're teaching this to a whole platoon of guys, you got, 40, 50 guys, it's easy to kind of round off the hard edges and everything averages out to similar or the same. When you got four guys and one guy is different, that's 25% of the group. They're going to catch that. So day two is usually more funeral based. Of course, we're going to go back through the stuff from the first day. We'll get into more funeral stuff. Flag folding is going to be a big part of that. Posting colors will be another big part. Those are the two graded evolutions of the course, pass fail, flag fold and posting colors. Why just those two? Because there's so many different movements required of that. Now, there's a lot in there that you can still fix and adjust and adapt to still have a good product at the end. But I want to be sure I teach all these different fixes and whatnot. Because flag folding is an example. You've got one chance to fold it in front of everyone and hand off a perfect flag. There's perfect and there's passable. Sure, the ultimate. What's the right answer? Do you feel comfortable passing this flag off to someone's next of kin that you know? If the answer is no, you already know it's not a good flag. You already know. We don't have to get into the particulars beyond that. That's the answer. Um, I do a 3, a 4, and a 5-day iteration of this. 5 is great. It's a 40-hour course. I think 4 days is kind of the sweet spot for most departments and agencies because that fits that balance of budget. The most expensive part of the course is guys being in overtime hours or training hours, backfilling the schedule and stuff. 3 days we can really cram it in, but man, 3 days is a hard, fast ride.
Now, do you have people that help you train?
In the past, I have for bigger courses. There's still some guys that can 1099 and do that. I'll tell you about 10 years ago when I was in Texas, I had 35 guys working for me doing this.
Wow.
What I learned in that was the trainer makes the course regardless of background credentials, etc. It's difficult to go from place to place and put on a show for 3, 4, 5 days when you're the only guy. So that had its issues. I mean, a lot of people also say they like traveling because that sounds like a real sexy part of my job. People like vacationing. I like vacationing too. Don't get me wrong. Traveling and vacationing are very different things.
Mhm.
I enjoy living out of a suitcase. I have all of my things right here. It's very organized. It's packed. It's easy. It's not like vacationing where you got to harvest everything from around the house. Like, no, my work bags are packed. I got a plane right now. It's already packed. It's washed. It's ready to go.
Yeah, work trips are flying isn't a luxury like it used to be anymore. Now it's just more of a pain, especially now with like government shutdown stuff. Waiting in line
Yeah.
forever is not fun.
Yeah,
Flying
I'm
home
flying
from
to Atlanta tomorrow. So
Oh,
excited.
good luck, dude.
I love Atlanta. I love Atlanta.
Good luck.
Now, coming home from Jersey last week
Did you fly to Newark?
was not fun. Yeah.
God.
So I was working up in Jersey, flew into Newark, um, just to get through security, and I have clear, all the things. It took an hour
Wow.
with clear, with pre-check. It took an hour. It's what it is.
How often are you traveling?
Pretty much every week. I do about 40 courses a year. There's 52 weeks in a year, so you can math that one out.
Yep, that's just a lot. Wow.
Gone a lot. Gone a lot.
I like to talk about like setting the standard. What does setting the standard mean?
I think a lot of people say setting the standard, and it's just a cool phrase to say, and it has no backing or meaning or definition behind it. Um, if you ask me what setting the standard is, I think it's much more of a being able to visually show what excellence is. You know, performance on demand, you know, being able to do that. It's easy to do stuff when conditions are perfect. That's easy. It's a lot harder to do it when things are not at your advantage. And you know, if we're talking honor guard, one of the things I perpetually say is like the public's not trying to set you up for failure, but they don't know to how to set you up for success. You know, the way I think of this, and this probably sounds degrading, I don't mean it that way, but it's like from the public perspective, it's like, hey, come do the flag thing at our event. Like my little girl's gonna sing the national anthem, it's gonna be great. They have no idea what's hard, doable, right, wrong, you know, for you guys. You guys are a fraction of a fraction of a percent of the event or the show as a whole. So you got to know how to set yourself up for success in that.
And nobody sees the time spent just doing that one little, like, color presentation. You could be there
Sure.
practicing for a couple hours just to make sure it looks great.
Sure. And because they don't know the time, they don't appreciate it. It's not necessarily such an easy metric as other things, especially when people don't understand what's good and what's not good.
This is definitely where discipline matters, details, little details matter.
Details, training, I mean, all the methodology goes into that 100%.
All right. So I want you to tell me three things. What makes a strong team?
Three things that make a strong team. I mean, everything's going to start from the leader. Everything starts from there as far as what the culture's going to be, what the op tempo is going to be, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. If you want to call that standards, fine, but everything's going to start from the leader.
What makes a great leader?
To not give a list of just singular verbs that sound like we're training for the SAT. You know, I'd say what makes a good leader is being clear and concise in your instruction and accountable. I would say that everything's going to build from there. I think culture is a hugely important thing. You have no culture when you have no accountability. You have no culture when you have no clear message. And part of the clarity of the message is people should already know what's acceptable, what's right, wrong, what's good, what's bad, what can be improved. You know, if we're talking about honor guard movements, like it shouldn't be a question of, is my angle right? Is this right? Like you already know if you're right or wrong. If you don't already know, how do you improve? How do you get better?
Oh, that's one.
I mean, that's just an all encompassing kind of
But yeah,
answer there
we ain't
for
done. I
as far
said
as what
three.
makes a good leader. You
No, I
know,
think you nailed it. Communication and accountability.
you can wrap a million things into leadership. And again, if you just want to make a long bullet point list that means nothing, I think that's what you normally get. Because of course, I gave you two cool buzzwords, two SAT words of
Hmm.
accountability and clear communication. You could argue anything else you want to add is going to somehow in that Venn diagram overlap that a lot. Because someone's going to say, "Well, set the example." No disagreement from me, but how much accountability is already wrapped into that? How much having a clear message and stuff's going to be wrapped into that? And again, from that come culture, and from culture comes repetition. Oh,
I so I like to also just talk about some hobbies and love we have. I'm looking behind you. Those are challenge coins, correct?
I have a few here. I got some boxes of others.
I'm sure you have collected thousands of these throughout the
I know
trainings.
there's think this one behind me holds 92, and it was difficult to pick which 92 to show. Put it like that.
Do you have one in particular that's your favorite?
I have a lot of cool ones. I have a lot of really prestigious ones. I don't have one that's a favorite. I mean, everyone's a story. Um, yeah, these are the 92 or however many are on there that I regularly show. Because I learned many years ago, if you rewind, like, let me think, probably right before COVID or that kind of time frame, I was like, I'm gonna put all the patches up on the wall, right? So I had a corner desk in my home office, and I got corkboard. So I had 10 feet of corkboard going on both sides of the corner. All of that corkboard was full. All of those patches were overlapped. And that was what, 6 years ago? That's a lot of patches. And the coins is similar. There's a lot, but I'll tell you, everyone's got a story. Sure, some look cooler than others. some people come over and want to talk about more or, point out. But for me, like, yeah, I remember the guys, I remember the story, I remember that place. That's what I think the cool thing is. It's not about the design or, whatever. And some sound more prestigious than others, but the connection is what matters.
And that's the point I wanted to make. It's not just a hobby, it's the story behind these patches
Mhm.
and coins that you have a memory forever. Every single one of these coins behind me, above me, I know who I got it from, and there's a story behind it. Every single one of
Absolutely.
these.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't understand that. They just think it's a coin. And like, no, that's there's stories behind it. They have a lot of meaning to us.
Yeah. Well, people come over, they always want to grab the ones that are cool shapes or big or,
Yeah.
though. I mean, none of those are the cool ones I want to talk about or, whatever. Like, yeah, it was cool that I got that coin. Like, yeah, I've got like 4 presidential coins and, super elite units and cool places, but the story is way cooler to me. The people, in some of these small places that didn't have the best, coolest, gaudiest, coin patch, whatever. Those are way cooler to me.
People need to understand the why behind something before they want to kind of beat it down. Because in my office, I think I display 15 coins total, but anytime that somebody asks about them, I tell every single story of every single coin, right down to the one that I got with Tony in Miami. What were we there for? First there, first care. That's what it was. It was a pre-hospital.
First there, first scared. That's right.
Yeah. Well, my granddad was the fire chief over the Navy base here in Panama City, and he was the assistant chief of Tyndall Air Force Base. So I get first response honest. Well, we're down there in Miami, way far away from home, down there in that godless cesspool that is South Florida. And while we're there, we run into a friend of mine, John Jay, who has Roll Call Coins, who they do tremendous work. So John has this rectangular coin displayed, and it said, it was for the, what was it for? It was for Tyndall Air Force Base. I'm trying to remember if it was Tyndall or the Navy. It was one of the two. I don't know which one it was, but I looked at him like, dude, that's awesome. I told him my granddad it was Navy base because I said my granddad retired as the fire chief of the Navy base. And I was like, let me buy that coin. He's like, no, I'm not gonna sell it to you. I'm like, well, kind of a dick, but okay. And he's like, no, but I'll give it to you. I'm like, okay, feels, man, thanks. That's cool. So he gave me that coin. It's so cool that I left Panama City, went to Miami, survived Miami because I'm a survivor like that. And he gave me that coin and I got to bring it back. And I love telling that story. It's sitting right next to the one that I got from George W. Bush.
There you go.
Yeah. So I get it. I give Tony a bunch of crap about the coins, but I 100% get it. And people who don't get it need to take the time to be educated on it.
Couldn't agree more. So we're coming to a close on this episode. Bill, how can people get a hold of you? Where can they follow you? How can they sign up for your course?
So my company's Competitive Outcomes. The website just has a dash or a hyphen in the middle. So competitive-outcomes.com. That is outcomes plural. You can find all the social media the same way, but it's all there.
And I'll with your permission, I'll put it in the description of this so people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, please do. I don't do a ton of social media stuff. Um, that's just I put it out there, but people usually find me on Google. Honestly, I haven't done any marketing in at least 10 years. It's all word of mouth, repeat clients, stuff like that. So I've been real blessed in from that perspective, I guess. You put out good training and people talk about you.
That's what it's about right there.
Absolutely. The great ones
Anyone
don't
can
have
say
to
anything
market.
on the internet. That's how I look at it is anybody can tell you they're the best or whatever on the internet, but what people actually say about you in person to their friends, to their colleagues, that's going to carry more weight and have a whole lot more value than, any cool thing you can write about yourself.
Yep.
Great.
Well put, man. Well put.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for being on here. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me. I really enjoy this and getting to talk with other guys that are passionate about honor guard is just an awesome thing. Where there's not a ton of us and it's a niche thing. So it's great when we can get together and, talk about this and just have some, camaraderie and some brotherhood in that.
Everybody, thank you for listening today. Subscribe, like, share, follow us on all of our platforms. This is Brandon and Tony with the Line and the Oath. See you guys.